Okay, perfect. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to this next office hours. So I think there's a question. Oh, sorry. Did someone mind? Ishmael, do you mind if I mute you?
Oh,
Um, yeah. So I think there already was a question, so we can take a look at that one later for populating a drop down on table records that was actually posted by somebody here in the call. So we'll take a look at that. But before that, there's a couple of things I wanted to share. First, library app. And then deleting table records. That was a topic on community. So the first one is the first pass yield app. And as you can see here, first pass yield app is a way to track goods produced without rework to indicate quality. So it's a really simple app. It's a single step app that essentially allows you for each serial number within that you're tracking, you can say, okay, is it within specification? You can like put in this step here the nominal value and the tolerances that you can have, and you can say whether it passes or fails. So just to show you a demo, because it's probably the best way to show you. Here we're performing an inspection on this part here. We're measuring a distance and say I put in a new serial number. I can very easily come here and say, okay, this one has failed. And then you'll see when I come in to inspect the next one, all the numbers are automatically updated and the calculation stays up to date for the, whether they pass or fail. So this is a really good way to kind of just measure first pass yield on parts that are being measured. As all library apps, you can, just download it, install it on your instance. And then if needed, you can come in and modify it. But I think it's a pretty neat app. You can come in here if you want to change the image or any of the text that's being displayed. You can come in here and modify this to show any information you want. But these calculations, the nice thing, these are, once you install the app from the library, they all come in, and so they all work out of the box without any configuration necessary. Okay, cool. Any questions on that app, by the way? Okay, awesome. And actually, I'll share the link. So if folks are interested, you have it. I'll just put it in the chat here. But so the next thing that I wanted to cover is deleting table records, because I think this is something quite important that needs to be done pretty regularly. And unless you know a simple thing that needs to be done before deleting the records, it can be a little bit tricky. And the thing that needs to be done is clearing the record placeholder. So essentially, the way you have to imagine it is like, okay, the placeholder is a placeholder that you have in your app that you can load various records into, not only one at a time, but it's interchangeable with which record you load in it. But before you delete it, you actually need to clear it, and then you can delete the record. So that's an important thing to understand. So if I come in here to show you the demo, so I'm just loading up from this table here. So right now there are no records. I'll just come in here, create a record, just put some random information in, click create. So now if I go to try, okay, so I'll load it. And the first thing, let me first show you what happens if we just try to delete it without first clearing the record placeholder. So in this trigger here on this button, first it's clearing and then it's deleting. So if I just only try deleting the record and I click delete, you'll see we get an error message that says record with ID is currently being used because I have it loaded here in the app. Please finish and then try deleting. So the action that I need to add is table records, clear record placeholder, and then I'll just select this one. And then last important thing, I need to put it before the delete record action. So first we clear it and then it deletes it. So now if we save this and we see clear and delete, boom, you can see it clears it from the placeholder and then it deletes it. So it's a really important thing because, again, if you just do delete, it will not let you delete it because it's being used in an app. So if you want to delete it, you first need to clear the record placeholder.
Gio, so that means
that would be part of our sort of like a button that we have to add this clear before deleting every time we want to sort of like use this triggers, right?
Yeah, so you need to use this action if the record placeholder is being used, if the record that you want to delete is being used. If it's not being used, you can just delete it like that, no problem. But if it's being used, you first have to clear the record placeholder and then you can delete the record.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Any other questions on that, by the way? Okay, so in that case, I wanted to show, there was a question, actually it was a couple of weeks ago, but basically, is it possible to create a drop-down menu with static list of options to select, but also allow the operator to start typing values that may or may not be on the static list? So essentially something like this, where it's you start typing and then the drop-down gets narrowed down. So just to show you a demo, you can see here, right now there are no options. If I add an S, I click this button, you can see this drop down here is populated with only the records, because it's pulling in from a table that match this this input here. It's a filter essentially. If I put in an E, lowercase e, we get desk, table, bed, stove, because they all have lowercase e's. So it's a really good way to kind of filter out information in this drop down, in these drop downs that, if you have like a whole massive drop down, you need to filter it down so that the user doesn't have to scroll through a bunch of options. You can easily add this this way. So just to show you, there's two things that are happening. First, we have a table that has all the options that I want. So here it's only one column, which is the ID, which has a bunch of records. You can add as many records as you like here, and that will just take from like this. Imagine this as being like the full list that then you take and filter down. So that's the first thing we need. And the second thing we need is a connector function to your own table. So this will be, the function will be a get, because we're getting information out of the table. The endpoint is your own instance name, then API v3 table, which is standard, the table ID, which is this one here. I just copied this table ID here. And then the endpoint is record. So we're getting all the records back. So that's the first part. The second part is that it has this connector function has one input. So every time you go to run this connector function from any app, it will ask you for this filter. So if you take a look here, when I click run connector function, you'll see we're being asked for the filter. The reason we have this is because it's an input in the connector function itself. And then we have three query parameters in the app. So the argument, the field, and the function type. The argument, I just mapped it out to the input by doing this. And then the field is the ID, because it's the very first column. So it's the ID column. The function type is contains, because we want the filter to return every time that something contains the lowercase e, for example. That's why it was, when I put e in here, but that's why we get desk, even though this option doesn't start with a lowercase e, it's showing up because we have contains in here. So then when I click test, we can see it, and now there's no values, because this would only search if there was an empty ID. If I put it lowercase e, we get 4 items, and in the output, we now have an array with these 4 items, because in the outputs, I have an array of type text, and we're just using the extractor.id. So now we have these 4 items that, depending on what we enter in here, they're updated automatically to the latest, to match whatever we put in the filter. So then from the app itself, it's we just run the connector function, Tulip tables, get records with filters options, which is this one here, where the filter is the variable filter that I'll show you in a second. And then we're just saving the result as a variable that I call results from connector function. The filter variable is this here. You can see variable filter, which is what we use to filter out on the connector function. And then finally, the last thing, the drop down. So this, all this stuff here is normal, but what's interesting is the options. So instead of static list, the way it normally is, where the options will be variable, and the variable will be the IDs. So, if you remember, when this button is pressed, we're creating a variable called results from connector function, and it has one item in here, and it's the IDs. So, okay, I know I covered quite a few things. Are there any questions about how this works?
Hey, Gio. I was the one that originally asked about how this is set up. So
Awesome.
it seems to make sense the way you ran through it, but like, I'm not sure if there's something that I missed in my setup or,
Yeah, can you share your screen?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be awesome. That way we can troubleshoot together. Okay. Awesome. So let's get started. You mind opening up? Is this the connector here?
So, yes.
Okay, perfect.
So
Yeah.
I have,
Okay. Oh, nice.
so essentially I have, this portion set up correctly from what I'm
Yeah.
aware of, and the header is in there. So I set this up the same way that you had with like this filter and the query parameters having to be filter in that way. And then the
Yeah.
input, we were going back and forth, having this try to pull the operator name, but testing it, it doesn't seem to be pulling anything.
Okay.
So it seems like this whole setup is functional, but I don't know if there's still anything missing here that you would know of.
Yeah, would you mind opening up this table? If you just copy this ID. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, perfect. So, okay, really cool. And do you mind if you just go back in here and you just try putting like a lowercase a as the filter?
Okay.
Here, yeah, and then test it out. Okay, cool. So, and sorry, do you mind just ask me later here? Okay, cool. So it is working correctly. We're getting all the records that match the A. So Brett, because there's the A in here. Sarah, I remember, had 2 A's, so this is really good. And then do you mind going to outputs just to make sure that, okay, oh, awesome. So it looks like everything's set up well on the connector function. So then if we go to the app editor, is this the app itself? Okay, cool. So first, if we take a look at this one here, okay, variable operator, cool. And then is this where you run the connector function?
Yeah, so this is the trigger.
Okay, this all looks correct. Very good. So operator options. Okay, very good. Save this. And then if you select this one, and you select this variable here, okay, that's interesting. You mind
Yes.
just, yeah, because we should, you remember on mine how there was like the results from connector function, but let's see what's going on. So if you click text and then variable, yep, and then just put it there and then select the variable, and then if you scroll down just a little bit in here, operator options, yep, click this. Okay, and then just if you can make it a little bit bigger. Okay, Yeah, so and then if we test this out, we'll just use it in developer mode. Okay, yep, you can click begin, and then put the A in here. Sorry, I'll get that drawing out of the way, okay? Okay, so they're coming back in here correctly. So we have them, and now we just need to tie them back in. So if you mind opening up the connector function again, I'm just gonna compare it to mine. And is this?
I do have some extra variables that I'm not using. 'Cause I was having some issues, trying to get this set up. So, but I'm
Yeah.
not. I shouldn't be using them in any of this currently.
Yeah, no, it all looks correct here. And then if you go back in here, and then you actually, you know what? Let's just take a look at all the app variables. So if you open up this here, and then we take a look at the variables. Operator options. Yeah, this is correct. Okay, cool. Yeah, and then if you close this again, sorry that we're just clicking around, but I'm just trying to get, because everything looks correct. If you select the drop down again here.
So I'm not sure if this is supposed to be different, but it's not allowing me to make it, select
Yeah.
something existing.
Yeah, exactly. It should be, it should let you basically select the,
So should it be this operator options button?
oh,
variable?
okay. Yeah. So in here, when you went to say, well, actually, one second. If you when you went to save this result, was it an array or did you create a variable?
I've tried both. So right now this isn't this is a array. Yeah.
Okay, and you might just try doing variable. Yeah, I always have to do this twice. And you can just put like office hours operator or something. Okay, and then if you select this drop down again, and then go here, here it is. So that was the problem, because it's an array. Yeah, so now you're all set. And now if you go to test it out again, yeah, and click update operator, and then there it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, it's actually a very so essentially, like when we went to define it, when we ran the connector function, if you do an array, it returns an entire array, which then you can't use in this dropdown. But here it's an array of strings right now, and that's why you can, yeah, go ahead and select the operator like that.
Okay.
Okay, so now the other thing that I'm noticing is that this variable is tied exactly to this drop down. So now essentially as soon as you select one, it will like update the input text to whatever the user selects. So I would have two variables, one for like a filter and then one for the operator that they select.
Okay.
Yeah.
So also when I update this, so any entries that do get entered in, would that be saved in the table here that could continue to be populated? So we can add all that different operators just by having them fill it out?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So if you have more records in here, they will all populate in that list.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in this case.
Yeah, but so I would just change, yeah, if you close this off, if you change this in text input here from variable operator, if you just switch it, you make a new variable, call it like filter. Yep. Filter, perfect, create filter. Yeah, and then you change it in the connector function. Yeah, and then here, change this from operator to filter. Perfect.
So would this need to change?
No, you can leave that as is actually, because it's just the input that we're changing into the connector function. And now if you go to test it out again.
So all of this is
Yeah, everything else can stay the same. So if you just put in, for example, here, A now. Yeah. And then you need to click the button. Yeah. And now you see you'll get all three of them again.
Okay.
Yeah. But whereas if you put capital W, for example. Yeah. Oh, it needs to be, it's case sensitive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Hmm. Is there a way to make it not case sensitive?
So, I mean, you could store all the options in your table in uppercase or lowercase. Yeah, I mean, there definitely are ways to do it. I'm just trying to think of the simplest way. It would probably be, if you don't mind, just opening up the app editor again. Yep, and then go in here. I just want to see, I'm trying to remember if there is a function. Yep, so in here, change this from variable and say expression. Yeah, and then start typing in here. And if you do upper, let me just see if, okay, yeah, uppercase. So essentially this function, yeah, converts a string to be all uppercase. And then in here, now you can put at variable. Yep, and filter this one here. So essentially whatever they put in here will convert it to an uppercase. Does that make sense?
So that every entry that gets saved in the table will all be uppercase?
Yeah, exactly. So in the table itself, you'll need to have all uppercase entries.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I
And
could just go and modify these before we start using this on the floor, and then
yeah,
everything will always be uppercase. We can always find it.
exactly. That, or you can also you can either modify it or you can also add another column, if like for some reason for display purposes, if you want it to be with like uppercase first letter and then lowercase, you could just have like another column that says operator uppercase or something. And then that's the one that you search against in the connector function.
Okay. I think this way is simpler, just having it all be one singular.
Okay, yeah. And what's the use case for this by the way? You can see the production log sheet.
We're trying to essentially take something from paper to paperless and be able to log the data so eventually once we get enough data, it'd be also good to set up a dashboard from this app from this state to pull the data from the table. Because I'm also going to set up the same kind of drop down for any part numbers that we would start entering to log production made per shift.
Oh, okay. And so you have your target and your per shift. And then when, like, where's the actual information being stored? Do you have like a completions table?
I was thinking to include them in here in the same table. Would that work? Or I didn't quite get that far. So I just got stuck on this setting up the connector and everything for this.
Oh, well, so this could get a bit tricky because like
even with this part, the part number, storage, and essentially the same thing. I'm going to set up for this part for all the part numbers that get put in. I don't know if that should be a separate table.
Yeah, I would set it up as a separate table, to be honest, because like, maybe this individual here can run multiple parts. So they'll just like, you basically need to have like, I would have one table for the operators, one table for the products, and then this table here for the production data.
That includes.
Yeah, you can include that information. So whatever, like from the app, whatever whatever they select from here, from this variable, you can then store it. You can then store it in that production. In that production table.
Okay. But so I should have separate tables that the operator filtering gets pulled from and the part
Exactly.
number gets
Exactly.
pulled from, but they can all save to a singular table, including the target and actual data.
Yeah. That's not a problem. Are you familiar with how to use record placeholders?
Not
Oh.
necessarily. I just have this here.
Oh yeah, awesome. This is good. And do you mind just clicking on this? Okay. So save. So the way to use this, if you go here to just add a button, we can put on a button click for now. Yep. And then just move this down. Yep. And you can say, like, for example, save data or something. Yep. And then perfect. And then we'll add a trigger here with a couple of actions. So you can add a new action. And here you can say table records. Yeah, the very last one. Oh, yeah, perfect. Create record. So this essentially, this is, it creates a new record by ID. For now, you can just put a random string in there. So if you do expression and you start typing here, yeah, and just put in rand. Yep, random string. Here it is, the last one. Perfect. You can save this and we'll select the record placeholder that you created earlier. Perfect. Yep. And then we'll add a couple of actions. You can add like 3 or 4 actions actually. Yeah. You'll do a data manipulation, store. Yeah. And then here we'll put the variable. And for example, let's start with the operator. So this operator one here, I think, is the one that when the user selects in the dropdown, this is the one that is, yep, the variable where it's saved to. And we'll save it into the table record. Yep. Perfect. And then operator. So essentially, this action, like what we're doing here is 2 things. First, we're creating a record by ID random string. We can change that later into the record placeholder that you created earlier. And then we're saying, okay, store what do we want to store? The variable operator that's within the app. And where do we want to store it? In the table record, this table in this column here, the operator column.
Okay.
So, and you can have as many actions as you'd like, so you can store the target, the actual, I can't remember what the other columns were, but you can have as many of these columns as you'd like, as many of these data manipulations as you'd like.
So this would be something to where, like, after they finish going through and updating all of the text and everything, this could be more of like a complete app button.
Exactly.
It stores all the data.
Yeah, exactly right.
In the table. So
yeah.
So if you didn't have those these data manipulations in here to make sure the data gets saved to the table, would it just be saved in an app completion?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And that's a whole separate thing.
Yeah, it's a separate thing, and it works fine. I mean, you can have both. But the problem is that if it's in a table, it's a lot more convenient because if you have other apps that need to reference this information, you can load it up from a different app. Whereas the records.
Formatting job I have today, which is.
Yeah, and if you want to see where it stores it in the app completion, if you click here, assembly production. Yep, and then you navigate over to completions. Okay, there aren't any here, but here, if you were to have just the complete button, and then you scroll over to the right, yeah, I guess exactly. You see all the variables here will populate here, and it's a simple, like, effective way of doing it. But generally speaking, if you send all the information to a table, then it's easier to access in the future.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, just you know, and it's actually like just with that button that we added with that trigger, that's what you need to get started to start saving data into the table. This one, yeah, save data.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that covers everything I had. But just to clean up things, so I could go in here to variables and just delete app variables that aren't being used then?
Yep, exactly. If it's not being used, if it is being used, it won't let you delete it. But the ones that aren't being used, exactly, you just have the little trash can here that lets
Okay,
you
perfect.
delete them. Yeah, so it's a good way to kind of clean everything up. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you can also delete this one. This is the one that is just, we're just displaying it. So first you'll need to, if you close this off, and then you delete this here and this here.
Okay.
Yeah, it will let you, exactly. And then if you go back to app variables, will let you delete them. Yeah, that one, exactly. Yeah, and I think, you know, you see like all these in the same way that we did data manipulation store operator into the table record, you can do the same for the part number, for the actual shift, all the columns, you know, you can just save them back into the table.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, yeah, and again, you know, the other thing is I would, yeah, I would have the operator and the part number in two separate tables, and then have this one table here leave that specific for production data.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. You think you have what you need now to continue building this app?
Yeah, I think I understand now. The only thing is, just confirm again. So if I have the same operator in a different table, those can match, or
Yeah, we can do it together real quick if you like. So if you go to tables, yep, and you create a new table. Yeah, and you can call it operators. Yeah, perfect. Great. And then if you scroll down, and yeah, there it is. You open it up, and then you put in a couple of records. Yeah, for example, you put, I can't remember what their names were, Sarah something and Brett. Yeah. Yep, perfect, great. And then you can have another one. Yeah. Okay, cool. And now all you have to do is copy this ID here. Yeah, perfect. And then if you go over to the connector function, instead of using the old ID, you can just update it to this one here. Yep, exactly, paste that. And then here you'll need to change this because now it's going to be in the ID column. So you can just put ID in there. There, and actually in here as well, yeah.
does it have to be the .id that you had in your example? Or?
I'm not sure, let's try it out. If you test it like this, no, you don't need it, so you're good. So now it's filtering by A, but for example, if you put a capital D or a capital K up in here. Yep. I think that was in capital K, uppercase.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. And now you'll just need to save these changes. And so now, yeah, just to go to answer your question, doesn't matter. You see that the information is in another table. It can easily be pulled in to the app and then stored to the production data table.
Okay. But then this table wouldn't be updated though, right?
This one here will not, no.
So essentially I want to be able to have them use the drop downs with data that gets updated, but then we still want to store data that gets finished.
Oh, like because the
So like as we add more part numbers, if we don't already have a part number in and available, then they can just type it in here, and once we click the save data, then it should be available in the drop down moving forward as well.
oh, and same with the operator.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's not a problem. So if you go in here into the app editor,
Okay.
what we do, if you go into records, yep, and then you add another table. Yeah, and you'll select the operators table. Perfect. Add it and add a record placeholder. Okay, and you can say that for, yeah, current operator. Yep, great. And now in this save data button, we can have it also, oh no, sorry, you can add a new trigger actually. Yep, and we can say, okay, add a new condition. Yeah, and then here we can say if table, yeah, does operators does not have record with ID. So essentially here we're looking at, okay, does this table, yeah, if the operator doesn't have table with ID, and then here you can select variable. Yep, operator. Okay, okay, so if this table does not have record with ID that matches variable operator, we're good. Then we can add a new action. Data, table records. That's for the very last one. Yep. Create record. Yeah, by the variable operator. Yep, into the current operator. So great. Now if we save this, we're all set. Do you have a tool player here on your computer?
Yeah. I can pull that up.
Yep. Okay. So now, for example, if you put in, like try putting in you just for now, like John Smith or something in here. Yep. And you click that. Exactly. Okay. So cool. Now, if you go, we just check out this operators table real quick again. Did you click this? What was that?
I think it would have to be, so it didn't update the filter, so I would have to first do this in the
Oh, yeah,
save
yeah,
data one.
exactly, exactly. Oh, weird. Why did it just put a B in here? So if you don't mind navigating, going back here, and then opening up the app, and then let's see this here, this drop down. Okay, so it's tied to the variable operator. And then if you click this save data again, yeah, and you open up this second trigger. Okay, do you mind just deleting this one real quick? And then here, instead of create, you can do a create and or load. Yeah. Okay, so try saving this. Yep. Also, then you go back in here into the Tulip player. Oh, okay. So essentially, we need to define which ones. So, yeah. So yeah, we're still not selecting it though. So would you be okay with having like a separate just like create operator button?
So separate from like looking up
Yeah, exactly.
to filter out. Yeah, I think that could work. And that would be separate from just saving, like when essentially when completing everything.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I'm just wondering. I'm trying to follow the concept of your app here, but could you use the user app info? So if the person is logged in, I know that's something I've done in my app is I have their user, so they don't have to select. It's just the person that's logged in, instead of having to create a separate table for yourself.
Oh,
Is that something?
Yeah.
Well, in this case, it's like a lead will be filling in this information. So we're trying to make it easier for the lead of the department to enter in which operator it was
Okay.
that was using that was running
Okay, so it's
production.
not the individual operators themselves. Okay,
Right.
sorry. That's all right. No, thanks.
Yeah, and so, but I guess in that same vein, and we should have asked this earlier. If you go to inputs here again, and you select single select. Yep. Then you just move this down a little bit. You see here, you can tie it to a variable. Actually, no, sorry, click out of here for just a second. Yep, and click it again. Actually, no, sorry, this is the right place. If you click the variable again, yeah, and then click user, for example, type user in here. Yeah, create user, and it will be value type person. Yep. Okay, create user. Okay, and then here you see it will just pull in all the users automatically for you. So now if you go into the Tulip player, you see, and then you select this option, you see you get all the users who have an account within this instance.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably have to discuss them with colleagues how we would want to manage that.
Yeah, because then if you do want to filter it, you can easily come in here and then say, okay, instead of all users, you can have, for example, specific users. You can have like a static list. If you don't want some users to show up, you can have a static list, yep, and then start filtering out here.
Okay.
But I will mention that if you have it this way, and then you see here how this variable is of type user, whereas before it was type text. So back in your production data table, you'll need to tie it back to a user. If you go back to tables here, yep, and then you open up the production data table. Yeah, so here you see how this one is text and it doesn't match. What you'll need to do is create a new field in this table that's going to be of type actual like user. So yeah, exactly. So does that make sense? Just because they need to match.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to think about how we want to do that.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think, have you looked in the library already? If there are apps that I'm trying to think because there's a couple production monitoring ones that I think would work quite well. Have you by any chance downloaded any?
No, I haven't seen anything when I've tried to look at the library. I'm not sure if maybe I'm not going to the right place.
Yeah, yeah. Do you mind if I share my screen? Yeah. So are you going here to tulip.co/library?
Yes.
Yeah. And then down here, if you search like production tracking, yeah. So let's try this one. This is the one, rapidly build apps with production logging. Yeah. So you can look at this one, for example, and this is more for work center rather than user, but it's a good place to start. Or the other one, centralized time tracking as well. Oh, here, yeah. So this one is the user, is just a logged in user, but you could change this to be a drop down. You know, the centralized time tracking app allows end users to record their activity as they work, providing a simple way to collect information for production tracking, to see who has worked on what, where, and for how long. So, you know, you can always get started installing this app and then modifying it as necessary in your instance.
Okay.
Yeah, I can send you the link for this if you're interested.
Sure. I'll take a look at that.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. You think you have what you need now to kind of continue like building out the solution?
Yeah, I'll just confirm which way is better, depending on if we want to try using it just for the lead, or if we try to set it up per station at each essentially at each station that we have.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate your help.
No, of course. Thank you for sharing that. That was very interesting to see. Looking forward to seeing the app as you build it out. Yeah. Are there any other questions that? Oh yeah.
Giovanni, I have a quick question, and I apologize if you've went over this before with the rest of the graph, but if I could just share my screen really quickly, is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, so can you see this screen here? Oh, no, there it is.
Yeah, okay, now we can see it.
See this one. Okay, so is there any way, because I was looking at the different instructions, but I can't see, is there any way that we can remote start someone's session when they're not at their desktop, for example? The other people on the team, if you can see, they're on version 9, but because Stephen and a few of the other team members haven't been in the office recently, but they are going to be working this weekend, can we reset their sessions remotely from within the stations on the shop floor?
So if you,
see, I'm not seeing the little pencil icon that I would normally see, for example, if I go to, hang on, do I get Rainers? Like, for some reason with Rainers, I can, you know, see a pencil and I can do a reset. But for some of these other people, I don't see that pencil option there.
Yeah, no, it's because their Tulip player could be closed. So there's no, you know, like you see how for Gary it's green and for Steven it's It's just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it means that the Tulip player is probably closed on their computer.
Okay.
But that being said, you see here, like all you need to click here is restart the app, and then it'll go straight on version 9 because you selected the most recently published version.
Yeah, I just think his manager was a wee bit concerned because he's not there at the weekends, but the team members are, and he just wanted to make sure. So I
Yeah.
just thought I would check in and ask with you, is there any way that we can do it to make sure that
Yeah.
everyone is on the same version?
Yeah, do you mind just if you click edit real quick here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then for example, let's remove this one here.
Okay.
Yeah, and then click save.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then and now you go back in and you select it. No, but you see, sorry, no, yeah. Okay, save again.
Yeah, still seems to be the same for Chris as well. Yeah.
I mean, is there any way that you could create a new station and reassign their devices to that station?
No, because we had a problem. We had to get Rainer. He had to actually physically go because he's the admin person that's local on site, go to their stations and set up their Tulip players for them. Because for some reason when we were sending them the link to set up a new station, it wasn't working properly for them. So we resorted to Rainer going, signing in as himself and then assigning them the station.
Oh, okay, but this, I don't think someone will have to go on site because if you just like, for example, try creating a station,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and you'll just call it, for example, Steven Test. Did you? Yeah. Stephen Quinn Test.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So here you see you could reassign Steven's laptop wherever it is, and it's just gonna sign him out of the previous.
Oh, that's really useful. Yeah, let me just try that. So Stephen, that's what he's called himself, Steve-O's desktop. Okay. So create station.
Yeah, it doesn't actually have to be exactly the same. It's, you can see it here from this display device.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just to make sure that everyone's all on the exact same.
Okay, so it's because he's assigned somewhere else, so it's not a problem. So if you can leave it, yeah, empty for now. But if you just, yeah, change the name here and put test, for example. Yeah, no, Stephen Quinn and then test.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, you can just click create. Yeah, well, the thing is, we first need to unassign it from this one here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've created it. Yep.
Yeah, perfect. And then I think it's all the way down at the bottom, probably. If you go down here, in this modal.
Remove. Yeah. Save. Okay.
So where did it go? Or maybe up at the top.
There.
Oh, there.
It's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And display device. Try changing it here. Yeah, and let's see if we can find Stevens. No, it's not there. Okay, so sorry, we're clicking back and forth a little bit, but then if you go back to.
Oh, it is there. It's there.
Oh,
Look,
okay.
reassign. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So before you confirm, just, yeah, make sure you're okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, essentially the original station, exactly. So now here you see, now when he goes to open up, if you click save here, once Steven goes to open up, you can modify, and they're gonna start on the app whenever you select it to version 9.
So this won't change anything. So when he still goes to his desktop, his badge ID will open in Tulip Player as normal. He just puts in his badge ID and that's
Exactly.
everything. Nothing will change for him.
And then you can just have him, yeah, exactly. So version, yeah, most recently published, and then save this. Exactly.
Okay.
And you get the option to run version 9.
That's perfect. That's okay. As long as we can do something that can
Yeah.
make sure that everybody's on the right. So that's okay. I can
Yeah,
do
and
those
then-
steps.
Yeah, you need to delete the other Stephen Quinn station at this point. So yeah, but you know, and you see that now there's no display device assigned to it, so this is perfect. You know, I think what you could do is, for example, if you have a completion every like 10 minutes or something, every time the app completes, it gets the latest version. So that's a good, could be a good solution to avoid this from happening in the future.
All right. Okay, we could look at that.
Yeah.
All right. So then that means like that when the guys aren't in, that even though there has been maybe updates during the week, as long as there's a completion, that this one here will update.
Exactly. Exactly. It's
Right,
gonna
okay.
the player needs to be running, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's grand. That's okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course. No, that's a great question. Okay, awesome. Is there anything else? Any other questions that folks had that we can help out with?
No, that was everything for me. Thank you.
Yeah. Sounds great. Okay, and we're right on time. So thanks everybody for joining. Hopefully that was an interesting session. If you have any questions before next week, feel free to post in community. If not, we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right.